Hey everybody, so I'm making this next thought of the day video. I promised you we'd be looking at the next shelf in my house. So I have two shelves that sit in the front room of my home. We've done the first one already 2 videos ago. Now we're gonna do the second one. And I'm excited to look at this. This one will be quick. There's not a whole lot on here, and what's on here doesn't require a whole lot of conversation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my camera around. I'm gonna figure out how to, by the time I'm done doing these shelf videos, I'll have figured out how to do this. But I'm going to try not to make you too seasick. I'm going to turn the video around so that we can take a look at the contents of my shelf. All right, so here we are, and that was the shelf we looked at last time. Those are where all the goodies were. Okay, we're going to come over here to this shelf right here. And this shelf's pretty straightforward. Got some more family photos, right? Yep. There's my mom and dad, yeah, and then that's my wife's family. See that family there? That was from a while ago. Man, that was back in the day. That was back when we were just dating. Anyway, back to the books. So my first shelf here is just all kinds of Bibles. I don't even know if I like half these translations, but these are all the, well, how could I like half these translations? There's no way. But these are, all kinds of stuff that I have here. I have, remember this when this came out, the story. Yeah, some of these Bibles I've used, some of these I haven't. This Bible was actually one that we used quite a bit. The 1-year Bible. This got us through the Bible every single year for a few years. My wife and I would drive into work. We lived in Nampa, Idaho, and we had about a 40-minute commute to work. And we would drive and read the daily portion out of that Bible. It was kind of cool. I really enjoyed that. The Serendipity Bibles. Here's a regular NIV. This is the kind of Bible I grew up on. Everybody always loves to ask me about translations. This is my translation, the NIV. This happens to be the old NIV, the NIV 84. The new NIV 2011 is better. The revisions really helped. And I just like the NIV for its readability. I like the NIV for familiarity. It's the Bible I grew up with, so it's the Bible that I'm used to. But I of all the Bibles, I prefer NIV to ESV. A, it's more readable, and B, the parameters are less driven by theological. The board that puts together the NIV is just a little bit more diverse and well-rounded in what they're trying to do with translation. Same thing with the Holman Standard, Christian Standard Bible. It's coming from a Baptist root. Anything that's coming from a traditional background, I'm going to have a hard time getting behind because it's being shaped and driven by too many theological, presuppositions. But nevertheless, this was cool when it first came out. I remember the Voice translation. That was cool. They've done all kinds of, they may even have gotten the whole Bible done in that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that translation, but I remember thinking that was cool when it first came out. When I was a young preteen, I used the CEV, Contemporary English Bible. Yep. What do we got here? Just some more different translations I've hardly ever used. 2 different copies of the Message. I actually do love the Message for what it is. People always call it a paraphrase. Everything is a scale. Translation is not a fixed science, so there's always a scale from direct translation to paraphrasing, and translation never is pure and direct. So there's no such thing as well, this is a paraphrase and this is a translation. People love to say that. Everything has elements of those. It's just where it lands on kind of a sliding scale. Okay, now here's one of my favorite shelves right here. Let's see what we got over here. We had got a couple parallel Bibles, HarperCollins Study Bible, the Jewish Study Bible. So this one's helpful. It's one of the JPS. So this would be this would actually be a Jewish Tanakh. That's going to be we would say the Old Testament, but it's going to be arranged. The book order is going to be, this is not a Christian Bible. This would be a Jewish Bible. So I like to use that. It's a dated JPS. The JPS comes out with regular, revised, newer translations all the time. So this was given to me by a friend. Thank you, Jim. The Book of Legends. In a sense, this is the Agadah. So if you know anything about Midrash, this is part of the Midrash. Let's take it over here, shall we? Let's look at this. So we always talk about Midrash. This is one of the pieces that makes up the library and collections of Midrash. So this is what will often be called the Aggadah. Here in this case, it's called the Book of Legends. Just a gorgeous. I am so thankful that they sent that to me. Oh goodness, how do I do this with only one hand? Okay. The Harmony of the Gospels, not a major fan of that. This is the Bible I preach out of. It's an NRSV. Our church actually uses the New Revised Standard, which is typically the academic translation. And we live in a university town with a lot of seminary grads in our church, and I think they prefer the New Revised Standard. So I preach out of that Bible whenever I preach at home. This is great. Biblioteca. What a gorgeous, gorgeous. So it's got, let's see if we can zoom in here. The 5 books of Moses and the former prophets. You've got the latter prophets. You've got the writings. You've got the Apocrypha. And you've got the New Testament. But just, again, this Bible was made for the aesthetic. The translation is super interesting. The more I study about this translation, the more I'm fascinated by it from just like a literal translation perspective. So if the message is on one end, this would be one example of the kind of translation you might have on the other. But just a gorgeous, look at that. That's the Psalms. It's designed to be, it's made on rock paper. It's designed to be aesthetically pleasing, and it is. They have no chapters, no verses. It reads, if it wasn't such a literal translation, it reads so smoothly. Not in its translation, just in its, in the way that you physically read it. Let's see here. Oh, somebody got me this as well. I keep diving into this more and more, and I keep getting more and more excited. The Jewish Study Bible. I haven't used this enough to know what to recommend about it. And again, I think this is just the Tanakh. So this is just the Old Testament, the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim. But the scholars that endorsed this and did the work in this should be a really great bunch of folks. And then here, well, this is Robert Alter's translation of the Tanakh, of the Hebrew Scriptures. And it's just, again, gorgeous piece of work. So great footnotes. This is one of my favorite pieces in my library, right here. Robert Alter's work on translating the Hebrew Scriptures. And then I just got a little bunch of random stuff, like filling up space here, like the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah, you know. Remember this? This book came with the, do you remember the old computer game when we were using DOS? Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? This was the book you used for the video game. It's really funny. But it has all kinds of fun stuff in there. Bird watching books, like who knew, right? Who knew? What is this here? A guide? Oh yeah. Yep. What did that say? A guidebook of the United States coins, 42nd edition. Who knew? I pick up all kinds of books from places, and I didn't even know I had them. So there you go. What we got down there? Well, we got, that's a weird collection, but Philo, the complete works of Philo, the complete works of Josephus, and then the Oxford Companion to Beer. So, you know, this is front room of my house reading fodder. So if you want to know anything more about beer, there you go. I used to live in Moscow, Idaho. A little local history of Moscow, Idaho. Dr. Seuss Hebrew style, right? Yeah, we got some green eggs and ham, but written in Hebrew. I'm taking a Hebrew class right now, so I look forward to being able to read this soon. I should tell Elle I have that. One of my favorite pictures of one of my favorite friends. More of my favorite Dr. Seuss isms. Porcine History. Oh, this is one of my favorite books. It's so funny. A history of the philosophy and religion. So it's all done in the art of pigs. The realist pig and the nominalist pig contemplating an ear of corn. That is fantastic. The Protestant pigs. There's a whole chapter on Protestant pigs. Orthodox Presbyterian pig looking for signs of grace revealed. If you're a seminarian and have studied all your theology, that book is pretty funny. And I just kind of inherited some dictionary stuff from my parents. Grew up with some of those when I was a kid. These are all the books that I have extra copies of. So if anybody ever comes over to my house, I can give them, these are just extras. So if you want anything, take it. And then over here is my worship portion. So Christ in the Fine Arts, the Old Testament in the Fine Arts, an old church hymnal, books on worship and praise, books of poems and prayers and hymns. And then down here is just my National Geographic collection. I've always enjoyed National Geographic. Not every issue, but they'll often come out on a regular basis with these issues that have just been so great. So there you go. That's shelf number 2. Let me flip my camera back around here. All right, so there you go. What are some of the things that you can look forward to? What do we got coming on the YouTube channel? Let's see here. Somebody had asked me to do a Kingdom Principles video series. So I did some looking. They were actually referencing an old body of work, so I went and found the old body of work, was kind of looking through that. There's some things in there that were good, maybe sparked some ideas. Part of what the old series was doing was talking about vocation and what we do for work. But I've already actually recorded a couple teaching on that. And so I will link those 2 videos in the description of this video. If you're interested in learning about the sanctity of vocation, the work that we do, how the kingdom isn't just about what happens at church and spiritual spaces, but the kingdom is about what we do to properly order and steward creation. You can check out those videos. It was made for another event, so if you feel like you're missing a little bit of context, it's because you kind of are. But the essence of the videos and the main body of the teaching there is totally fine. So you can maybe enjoy those videos there. And then what I think I might do, here's some things. Here's what I'm toying with. Obviously, we need to talk about more shelves in my house. That needs to be done. But I might sprinkle in some series again. People really like the James study. So what I was thinking I was going to do for the kingdom is I thought, what if we did a video series on every parable where Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is like. The kingdom of heaven is like. What do we do? What if we did a video series on every kingdom parable? So I think I might do that. I think I might look into doing a kingdom series of that sort. I also want to go through the Hall of Faith with Hebrews chapter 11. And I just kind of want to go through all those characters and do a little mini lesson on each one of those characters and what I think we're supposed to learn from them being in the Hall of Faith. And then, and then festivals will come around. We need to keep talking about festivals. Before you know it, spring will be here, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Shavuot, and it'll all be upon us again. And we've got more things to talk about. So lots more things coming in the old YouTube videos, but that's where we're headed. And it's been fun to chat today. That was shelf number 2. We've only got 8 more shelves to go. All right. We will talk to you again in the next video.